possessed the thunderous Kalin. He was beloved by the people and honored as the Linglong honored. His son, Lin Xiu, was also known as the hero's son. However, when the city of Tianhai was attacked by the Candle Dragon, Ling Yu mysteriously disappeared and was accused of being a traitor. Since then, his wife and children suffered the scorn of the people, and Ling Xiu became known as the traitor's son. Today is the day Ling Xiu participates in the awakening. He thought that with the powerful bloodline from his father, he would awaken a strong ability. But to his surprise, all the other students awakened their own abilities, and he couldn't awaken any. Amidst the mockery of the others, he silently walked back to the classroom, only to find that his seat had been removed, and the desk and chairs were filled with insulting words directed at him. Just as Ling Xiu was about to endure it again, he suddenly found that the hero's medal his father had given him had been turned over and was now being worn by his classmate Chen Hu. He instinctively tried to take back the medal, but Chen Hu, an awakened individual, didn't pay him any attention. He lightly flicked his hand, and Xiu slammed heavily into the blackboard. He struggled to get up, leaning on the blackboard covered with insulting words. Chen Hu, your dad and my dad were warriors back then. Is this how you repay them? Hearing this, Chen Hu grabbed his head and said, "Don't compare my dad to your traitor, old man." At this point, Chen Hu noticed the necklace on Ling Xiu's neck. "I remember this. It's something your old man, the coward, left behind." Saying that, he tried to pull the necklace off but couldn't. Ling Xiu tried to resist, but as an ordinary person, he couldn't move an awakened person with gathered strength. In fact, he couldn't resist at all. The reason why Chen Hu was so interested in the necklace was that it was something left to him by Linglong Zailing before she left. He never believed that his dad had fled in the face of danger. Just as Chen Hu was about to use his strength to break the necklace, Ling Xiu angrily stood up and, regardless of everything, rushed towards Chen Hu. He bit Chen Hu's finger, making him cry out in pain and let go of the necklace. However, after successfully reclaiming the necklace, Chen Hu once again tried to grab it. In desperation, Ling Xiu swallowed the necklace whole. Enraged, Chen Hu slammed him against the blackboard again, but Ling Xiu struggled to get up and said, "You people have truly ugly faces. Back then, you hated me because my dad was Lin Jizun, and now you hate me because I'm his son. You vent your anger and resentment on me. You're right about one thing. I may be a useless person without any awakened abilities, but even if I'm useless, I won't give up. One day, I'll prove to you, to everyone, that my father, Ling Xiu, is not a coward, not as you say he is." Just then, there was a cracking sound, and the necklace that Ling Xiu had swallowed earlier shattered. He suddenly felt a strange sensation in his body, and a voice rang in his mind. "Welcome to the Monster Dominator system. Host detected. Bloodline is currently in deception with the host." And it seemed that when Chen Hu crushed the necklace, he had inadvertently triggered something left behind by Ling Xiu's father. As the monster system binding completed, Ling Xiu could choose a lifelong monster as a reward. With uncertainty, he pressed the confirm button, and the system immediately presented 4 options for Ling Xiu to choose from. The first was the Monster King, Gui Lao, whose eyes emitted powerful light capable of piercing through everything. He was undoubtedly the king of monsters. The second was the Tyrant Monster, who had just demonstrated its soaring figure today. It was a dormant Pangu monster in the Western Sorrow. It had wings on both sides. Years ago, after a decisive battle with the Monster King, it achieved miracles. The third was the Queen Monster, Jiao Chong. She controlled all the creatures in the natural world and possessed extremely powerful support abilities. She was a carrier monster in the German service and Pingfeng Mountain, a kind of giant monster. The fourth was the barbaric monster, Xinyao. It possessed a robust and powerful force, capable of causing destruction and even shattering stars. It was a Pangu giant monster on Xingdao Island. It was this monster that wreaked havoc on Tianhai City years ago. If he had this monster, he would be invincible in the world. As Ling Xiu stared at the panel, unsure of which one to choose, the system suddenly prompted him that if the host did not make a choice within 1 minute, all choices will be removed, obtaining nothing. After a brief thought, he finally chose the first option, burly monster with the power of thunder. As he confirmed his lifelong monster, his consciousness instantly arrived in a strange space. He saw a large eye slowly opening in the deep sea, and at that moment, Ling Xiu felt an unprecedented pressure. Just then, a column of water enveloped him. The next moment, a massive thunderous dragon stood up from the classic of mountains and seized to pick him up. When Ling Xiu marveled at the colossal size of the ancient monster, the body of the Kui dragon gradually dissipated, and his consciousness was transported elsewhere. At the same time, the system's storage space immediately produced an egg. Just as he wondered how to hatch this egg, Ling Xiu's consciousness was suddenly transported back to reality. He was at a loss for how to hatch the egg. Seeing this, Chen Hu and his companions thought he was insulting them, so they surrounded him. 2 of his lackeys approached Ling Xiu and lifted him up. Chen Hu immediately started undoing his pants. Just then, a crane-like voice sounded, causing everyone to stop what they were doing. A girl with a red armband on her arm appeared and declared, "I order you, in the name of the student council, to release that student. Your actions have violated school regulations." But Chen Hu didn't pay the girl any attention, dismissing the student council as insignificant. He told her to get lost obediently. He snatched the pencil from the girl's hand and warned her to leave before he made sure she couldn't leave the classroom. Suddenly, the pencil in Chen Hu's hand moved uncontrollably, pointing directly at his neck. The girl warned him not to interfere with the student council's mission. Hearing this, Chen Hu sneered and snapped the pencil in half. "My ability is to gather power. Your abilities are far from impressive. I advise you to mind your own business. Sacrificing yourself for a loser is not worth it." But the girl's eyes turned sharp at his words. Just awakened, and already acting so recklessly, it seemed she needed to teach him a lesson. Ling Xiu had just attempted to persuade the girl to leave when he was unexpectedly knocked to the ground by a punch. Right at that moment, the girl snapped her fingers, and a broomstick instantly punctured Ling Xiu's clothes. She then lifted him into the air and hung him on the wall. "Sorry, classmate, could you please hang up there for a moment? It's a bit dangerous here," she said. With a wave of her hand, all objects in the room levitated. Meanwhile, various forks and pencils surrounded Chen Hu, and everyone was cautioned not to move to avoid getting scratched. Ling Xiu, who was strong, looked on in shock. Who was this girl that could instantly handle Chen Hu? It suddenly struck one of the students hiding under a table. This girl was Su Lingyu, a genius girl who awakened her unique magnetic power at the age of 14. Chen Hu had not anticipated that his attempt to teach the hero a lesson would attract this formidable lady. He had thought that with his father backing him, Su Lingyu wouldn't dare to do anything to him. But in the next moment, a ruler grazed his neck. "Don't think that just because I'm not afraid of you, Chen General, I won't kill you." Mistakes and superpower confrontations were common. Chen Hu immediately surrendered, exclaiming that he gave up. Su Lingyu saw this and released her power, no longer troubling him. She then raised her hand and promptly removed the badge from Chen Hu's body. "Tomorrow morning, go to the disciplinary office to accept your punishment, and then you can leave." Hearing this, Chen Hu and his companions were frightened and hastily fled. As they left, Chen Hu gave Ling Xiu a fierce glare. Ling Xiu watched as Su Lingyu effortlessly handled the situation, but he couldn't find any joy in it because he clearly understood the immense power gap between them. After returning home, Ling Xiu searched for a lot of information but couldn't find a way to hatch the monster egg. Just when he was at a loss, the system suddenly initiated a tutorial task. It stated that after hatching the people's monster, the system would teach him how to hatch the monster. However, it wasn't that simple because the hatching device for monster eggs cost at least 5 to 6 million, and humans had only evolved from ancient apes for a mere 5 million years. Fortunately, the system provided a method to accelerate the hatching of monster eggs, which required finding monster veins. Due to the Earth's scarce spiritual energy, only the energy from monster cores could rapidly hatch monsters. After listening to the system's guidance, Ling Xiu felt overwhelmed. As an ordinary person, obtaining a monster core seemed like an impossible dream. Just then, the system detected an energy source in the room. Hearing this, Ling Xiu felt excited. Could it be that his mother was secretly hiding something significant? However, what he didn't expect was that the source of the energy was his father, the hero team leader. Since his father's disappearance, Ling Xiu had carried the medal with him everywhere, as it served as his spiritual support. However, after the events of the afternoon, he realized profoundly that without sufficient strength he can't do anything. Ling Xiu, determined to clear his father's name and lacking his father's medal abilities, resolutely took out the medal and asked, "What should I do?" The system then projected a laser and etched a strange pattern on the wall. It instructed Ling Xiu to insert the metal into the pattern on the wall. With some hesitation, he inserted the metal, and it miraculously started melting and was absorbed into the wall. The next moment, the wall made a cracking sound and then exploded with a loud bang. When Ling Xiu looked again, his face was filled with astonishment. Emerging from the damaged wall was a small red Godzilla, which was how the Pan-Goo monster looked right after hatching, as the system provided a prompt. It was a Kalong with the characteristics of a dominant chicken-blooded plate, standing at 0.69 meters tall and weighing 380 kilograms. Its attack methods included charging, biting, and devouring. Congratulations to the host for completing the system task and gaining the taming skill. By touching a monster of lower level than oneself, the host can subdue the monster. However, at that moment, Godzilla bit onto Ling Xiu's pants and began pulling him backward. Then, it started running in circles around him. Apparently, it was inquiring if Ling Xiu could eat the egg. Reptiles often had a habit of eating their own eggshells for calcium supplementation. Did this creature have the same habit? With Ling Xiu's consent, Godzilla began to tear and chew the eggshell, but suddenly its expression distorted. Just as Ling Xiu thought the creature's eating habits were unappealing and seemed sinister, the system started emitting continuous sounds. Leo swallowed a warhead and gained inspiration. +8 +10 +15 shockwaves. It turned out that Kalong inherently possessed the ability to consume and evolve by continuously eating things. What he had just consumed was the evolution from eating the eggshell. At this moment, Kalong had grown from its original 0.69 meters to 1.2 meters tall. However, at that moment, the door was suddenly kicked open, and Ling Xiu's mother walked in unexpectedly. Upon seeing a stranger, Godzilla immediately displayed a menacing attitude, and Ling Xiu's mother was so frightened that she fainted. Ling Xiu initially intended to have the system take Godzilla back into its storage space, but due to the low level of the system, it couldn't be done. Helpless, he decided to hide the creature and then explain everything to his mother slowly. However, Godzilla seemed to have other plans. It saw the window as if it had encountered a prison and extended its claws, directly grabbing the iron pillar and pulling it. The window and wall were destroyed in one fell swoop. Neighbors, alerted by the commotion, rushed over. Ling Xiu knew that if they saw Godzilla, it would be impossible to explain the situation. So, he jumped onto Godzilla's back and leaped from the fourth floor. The roar, the sudden jump from the balcony, it was all so dramatic that Ling Xiu, hiding in the corner, broke into a cold sweat. Indeed, his mother was quick to regain consciousness. Just as after successfully hatching a small drake dragon during his spiritual cultivation, the system rewarded a prop called the monster radar. This item could detect all spiritual energy in the vicinity. Just when Ling Xiu was complaining that this skill was useless, the compass marked the locations with spiritual energy. The central highlight was the small drake dragon, and the scattered dots were the eggs it had left behind. Not far away, a larger highlight appeared on the compass. Thinking that the small drake dragon had evolved just by consuming its own eggshell, Ling Xiu realized that swallowing this one might cause an even more remarkable transformation. With a determined expression, he communicated with the small drake dragon. As soon as the dragon heard about the opportunity for a meal, it became excited. Ling Xiu was well aware of the dragon's appetite, so they quickly agreed to disguise themselves and set off towards the glowing spot, leaving sparks and lightning in their wake. However, upon reaching their destination, they discovered it was a high-end apartment building with security guards patrolling the entrance. While Ling Xiu contemplated whether to enter, the small drake dragon suddenly used its hind legs to jump straight to the target building. It swiftly climbed up the 40 floors. Upon reaching the location of the spiritual energy, Ling Xiu realized that it was a girl's bedroom. This was getting absurd. If they were discovered, the headline the next day would read, "Renowned spiritualist son attempts failed break-in, self-destructs, and invades girl's bedroom at night." Just as he was about to give up, the small drake dragon boldly entered the room. Excited by the scent of spiritual energy, it dashed towards the source. Ling Xiu was about to intervene but slipped and fell embarrassingly. At that moment, a large emblem of the Great Council appeared before him. Most of the spiritual energy on Blue Star was concentrated in this mystical space, giving rise to various rare creatures and monsters. This emblem was only given to qualified adventurers who passed rigorous reviews. Each emblem had a unique design. Suddenly, Ling Xiu remembered that this emblem resembled his student council president, Su Lingyu's emblem. Just then, the sound of running water came from the bathroom. Ling Xiu turned to look and immediately blushed, his nose bleeding. He thought, "Why did I come here of all places? You bring me here every day, and even if there are monsters, this woman turns them into sashimi." But at that moment, the small drake dragon was slobbering and about to charge into the bathroom. Ling Xiu quickly activated the compass, which revealed that the source of the spiritual energy was Su Lingyu. Suddenly, Su Lingyu sensed something amiss and shouted, "Who's out there?" Hearing this, Ling Xiu was too frightened to make a sound and signaled for the drake dragon to escape. The next moment, the bathroom door opened, and Su Lingyu, wrapped in a towel, walked out. As soon as she saw the small drake dragon, she leaped, and from the 40-story high building, she jumped down. Fortunately, the drake dragon served as Ling Xiu's meat shield. Otherwise, it would have been a disaster. This whole situation was like something out of a manga. Just then, a system message popped up, congratulating Ling Xiu for successfully finding a contact person and activating a system mission. The second part of the mission was to help the drake dragon enter the growth phase and reward a system skill. The projection skill could be used to fuse with any monster within the monster space, copying 30% of their attributes onto the user's speed. The small drake dragon's current strength was comparable to Su Lingyu's, and if Ling Xiu gained 30% of its abilities, he would at least have the strength of a top-tier fighter. Moreover, since the small drake dragon had only consumed its eggshell when it hatched, it would continue to absorb more spiritual energy in the future. This meant Ling Xiu could become stronger while practically doing nothing. He took out his badge and realized that it might come in handy. This is the pass to all the secret realms, and the spiritual energy inside is abundant. So, Ling Xiu brought the small drake dragon to a nearby secret realm. This place used to be a construction site, but after the secret realm opened, it turned into an abandoned factory. Soon, they discovered a teleportation path. When Ling Xiu and the small drake dragon passed through the portal, the scenery in front of them instantly changed. It was actually a massive primitive forest. Even though it was just a low-level secret realm, it exceeded Ling Xiu's imagination. Here, there were not only the largest dragonflies in history, but also giant centipedes over 3 meters long. Upon seeing these creatures, the small drake dragon immediately became excited and chased after them. Accidentally tripping over a stone, it ended up eating dirt. Ling Xiu felt a headache coming on as this was a secret realm, and he wished the dragon could be a bit quieter. However, the next moment, the small drake dragon stood up defiantly and inhaled deeply, as if telling all the creatures inside, "I'm here, behave and become part of my evolution." The deafening roar nearly shattered Ling Xiu's eardrums. Just as Ling Xiu was about to scold the small dragon for its recklessness, it pointed claw behind Ling Xiu. To his surprise, a large great bear was drooling and staring at him. The next scene was astonishing. The small drake dragon, leveraging its small size advantage, swiftly darted through the bear's armpit. A giant tree with a diameter of several meters was snapped in half by the bear's slap. It turned out to be a prehistoric short-lived bear that had accidentally entered the secret realm and survived due to the conditions here. At this point, the system informed Ling Xiu that the creature in front of him couldn't even be considered a monster. Despite accidentally entered the secret realm and survived due to the conditions here. At this point, the system informed Ling Xiu that the creature in front of him couldn't even be considered a monster. Despite its massive size, it was insignificant compared to real monsters. Ling Xiu checked its stats and indeed, its combat creature in front of him couldn't even be considered a monster. Despite its massive size, it was insignificant compared to real monsters. Ling Xiu checked its stats and indeed, its combat power was abysmally low, not even matching a piece of the small drake dragon's eggshell. It was nothing more than a weakling, freshly entered into the secret realm, a perfect target for the small drake dragon to practice its abilities. However, Ling Xiu suddenly realized that the small drake dragon, with its newfound combat skills, had disappeared. He wondered if the radar was malfunctioning, and just as he thought that, he felt a presence approaching. But before it could reach Ling Xiu, there was a sudden whooshing sound, and the small drake dragon appeared out of thin air. It charged forward and slammed into the bear, instantly reducing a quarter of its health. This was followed by a powerful tail swipe, taking away half of the bear's health. Finally, it executed a monster version of a crow riding a plane move, ending the battle in just 3 moves. Seeing this, Ling Xiu's heart suddenly sank, realizing his previous attempt to fight the giant bear with the small drake dragon was futile. After the bear fell to the ground, the small drake dragon began feasting on it. Each bite yielded a meager 2 evolution points. Ling Xiu couldn't believe it. Was this an exam system or something? After devouring the bear entirely, the small drake dragon had gained a total of 19 evolution points. Ling Xiu decided to spend these points, and after the evolution, the dragon's height had only increased by 3 centimeters. It seemed that the spiritual energy in the secret realm wasn't abundant everywhere. So, he activated the radar to search for nearby spiritual energy. Not finding much, a light spot with a power value of 0 appeared on the compass. Ling Xiu told the small drake dragon, "Stop gnawing on bones, buddy. I'll take you to where there's meat." Following the guidance of the radar, they headed quickly towards their destination. However, at this moment, Ling Xiu noticed something. Several light spots around them were rapidly approaching. Before long, a group of black eagles appeared in the forest. It seemed they were considering us as prey. Ling Xiu quickly asked the system about these creatures. The system provided information, stating that they were a group of shapeshifters with short front mouths and long hind legs, resembling dogs in appearance and cats in movement. They were social creatures known for their strong biting force. Hearing that they were not monsters, Ling Xiu felt relieved. He said to the small drake dragon, "You can start by cracking some nuts and sharpening your teeth, buddy." Just as they were about to launch an attack on the small drake dragon, it directly bit one of them and swallowed it whole. At that moment, the system delivered a message stating that the successful consumption of a mutated dog would yield 500 evolution points, with an additional 1,000 points for the first time. Upon hearing this, Ling Xiu's eyes lit up. He hadn't expected that devouring a mutated dog would provide more evolution points than devouring 26 short-faced bears. This was like hitting the jackpot. As long as the drake dragon didn't get killed, it would keep eating until it reached the growth phase. Excitedly, the small drake dragon charged into the group of mutated dogs and began absorbing their evolution points. The points surged rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, it had accumulated 2,505 points. Ling Xiu was thrilled. This was a significant boost. After using up all the evolution points to increase the small drake dragon's size, the progress for task 2 reached 50%. If they devoured the remaining mutated dogs, Ling Xiu was confident they would obtain the projection skill. This was the right way to navigate the secret realm. However, just then, a larger white mutated dog appeared. It let out a howl, and the other mutated dog's expressions changed instantly. Seeing this, Ling Xiu began to feel uneasy. In a split second, one mutated dog leaped, and with a big mouth, it lunged at Ling Xiu. The small drake dragon quickly turned to protect Ling Xiu but got bitten in the process. Before they could catch their breath, another mutated dog circled around to the other side. It turned out that the white mutated dog had issued commands to attack Ling Xiu to distract the small drake dragon. The small drake dragon had already sustained numerous injuries while protecting Ling Xiu, and Ling Xiu knew that continuing this way would not end well. Being swarmed by the mutated dogs was a terrible outcome. At this point, task 2 had reached 70% completion, but it was clear that these mutated dogs were not going to give them a chance. Ling Xiu instructed the small drake dragon to find a way to get him to a big tree. With Ling Xiu as their target, the mutated dogs would eventually wear down the small drake dragon. However, if Ling Xiu was out of the equation, the small drake dragon could unleash its full potential, and its strength could easily overwhelm the mutated dogs. Ling Xiu decided to climb the tree, temporarily diverting the mutated dog's attention. Meanwhile, the small drake dragon could use this time to quickly consume the remaining mutated dogs. Ling Xiu hoped that by taking this approach, they could turn the situation in their favor. As Ling Xiu climbed the tree and watched the small drake dragon charge into the group of mutated dogs, the mutated dogs went berserk once again. Amidst the chaotic battle, a few mutated dogs noticed Ling Xiu and fixed their gaze on him. Suddenly, all the mutated dogs wearing bells simultaneously rammed into the big tree. Ling Xiu lost his balance and fell from the tree. In the panic, he instructed the system to use all the evolution points to upgrade. After landing on the ground, he was surrounded by the terrified mutated dogs. In a critical moment, Ling Xiu quickly stood up with the determination to fight alongside the mutated dogs. With a swift motion, he punched one of the mutated dogs, shattering half of its body. Ling Xiu couldn't believe what he was seeing. Had he gained the power of these monsters? It finally made progress and entered its growth stage. The leader also completed the mission. Second, it received the skill reward of ability projection. By simply choosing a monster projection in the monster space, it could temporarily gain a 30% attribute boost from it. Just as the mutated dog lunged at little black dragon, Ling Xiu successfully applied the attribute boost to himself and smashed the mutated dog with just one punch. Ling Xiu looked at the mutated dog's palm in amazement. This was the power of monsters. At this moment, the remaining mutated dogs rushed towards him. However, with the abilities gained from Little Kuei-Long, Ling Xiu suddenly became confident. It seemed like he needed to show them what he was made of. He wasn't a pushover. He casually grabbed a nearby big tree and uprooted it, throwing it directly at the mutated dogs just as they lunged towards him. Unexpectedly, the mutated dogs leaped agilely and easily dodged the tree's attack. They're so agile? Looks like I'll have to go all out. But before Ling Xiu could engage with the mutated dogs, Little Kuei-Long swallowed all 3 of them in one gulp, and his hardening points shot up rapidly. Little Kuei-Long had now entered its growth stage, standing at 4 meters tall and weighing 3.5 tons. Little Kuei-Long walked up to Ling Xiu with an indignant expression. Just as Ling Xiu was trying to understand what was happening, Little Kuei-Long grabbed his shoulder and threw him onto his own shoulder. "Why did you leave without permission?" Suddenly, Ling Xiu heard someone speak, and he frantically searched for the source of the voice. Just then, Little Kuei-Long turned his head and spoke again. "I'm very dangerous." Ling Xiu was nearly shocked to the ground. Oh my goodness, the monster can speak. At this moment, the system popped up on its own. What's so surprising about Kuei-Long speaking? They have ruled the Pungu giant beast for billions of years on the Blue Star. In the long river of life, they have long evolved super high intelligence. Mastering human language is not a difficult task for them. At this point, Little Kuei-Long expressed dissatisfaction with Ling Xiu leaving on his own, arrogantly stating that it was safer to stay by his side. However, Ling Xiu explained that if they didn't do that, they would both be in danger, and by now, they might have been torn into pieces by the mutated dogs. But the next moment, Ling Xiu suddenly realized that Little Kuei-Long was worried about his safety, so he smiled and patted Little Kuei-Long. All right, no matter what, our partnership is quite successful. Now, what we need to do is quickly return the badge to Su Lingyu tonight. But when he reached for the badge, he found that it had disappeared at some point, possibly during the recent battle. After searching around with Little Kuei-Long, they still couldn't find the badge's whereabouts. At this point, Little Kuei-Long, the black dragon, pointed in a direction, indicating that there was a scent of dogs. Ling Xiu also smelled it now. He didn't expect that the monster's projection ability would enhance his sense of smell. They followed the scent and discovered the badge under a slab of stone. It turned out that the badge had been carried into a nest by a few small mutated dogs. The system indicated that these were small mutated dogs that had undergone minor mutations. Although their individual combat power was not strong, they would recklessly attack opponents when in a group. They completely ignored the difference in size and bit at Little Kuei-Long. Just as Little Kuei-Long was about to kick them away and have a meal, Ling Xiu stopped him. "Kuei-Long, hold off on eating them for now. Let me try out the taming skill I just obtained." Su Lingyu stood on the balcony lost in thought. He had come in from the 45th floor balcony, but he couldn't leave safely. Could it be an awakener with enhanced physical abilities scaling the wall? Just as Su Lingyu was puzzled, a piece of debris on the balcony caught her attention. Apart from Lin, there shouldn't be a second person with such poor taste. At that moment, she suddenly remembered that while patrolling the school today, he had briefly sensed the presence of a monster. However, when she followed the scent, she found only a few boys fooling around in a classroom. After investigating, she discovered that these people had awakened abilities that were relatively ordinary. If that momentary sensation wasn't an illusion, then Ling Xiao, who hadn't awakened, was the most eager. Assuming that guy awakened some kind of monster-controlling ability, it would explain today's strange events. But why did he come to my house in the middle of the night, and how did he know where I live? Just then, Su Lingyu's phone rang, and it turned out to be an emergency contact from the Level 1 Secret Realm Management Center. Meanwhile, in the Level 1 Secret Realm, Ling Xiao, in order to test the taming skill, had saved 3 small mutated dogs from Kui Long's mouth. This skill could only tame monsters lower in level than himself. However, before he could use the skill, the 3 small mutated dogs attacked him. Fortunately, the ability projection skill had not disappeared, preventing him from suffering any harm. As he touched one of the small mutated dogs with his finger, the system immediately sent a prompt. Miyazaki-Jun, not a monster, small mutation. The originally fierce small mutated dog instantly became obedient and started barking wildly at the other 2. It even looked apologetic towards Ling Xiao, behaving like a loyal lapdog. Soon, Ling Xiao had tamed all 3 mutated dogs, but just then, the system issued a prompt. The host can have a total of 5 monsters. Currently, you have 4. You've tamed 3 useless lapdogs. At this point, the system also prompted that he had obtained a monster gold and S653, which could be used to upgrade the system and gain more monster space. Ling Xiao knew that upgrading the system wasn't something that could be done overnight, so he decided to first return Su Lingyu's badge. However, as he was about to pick up the badge, he discovered that there was a photo of his father inside. Ling Xiao was suddenly at a loss. Could he have stumbled upon the truth about his father's disappearance by accident? Just then, his phone rang, and Ling Xiao looked at the unfamiliar number, hesitating before answering the call. The next moment, a startling sound wave erupted from Su Lingyu. Did you come to my house tonight and steal my mother's coat or badge? Upon hearing this, Ling Xi quickly pretended to be clueless, indicating that he had no idea what the other person was talking about. Seeing that he was being uncooperative, Su Lingyu continued. You are in Sector 86 now. Just 10 minutes ago, I received a notification from the management center that there are 2-ton class monsters there. When you hear 2-ton class monsters, it's quite surprising, because Sector 86 was the training ground for the blood condensation mirror. There should have been monsters of less than 1 ton in strength. 2-ton class monsters required exceptional strength. Yes, that's right, Ling Xi thought suddenly. Wasn't it the moment when Little Huilong evolved 10 minutes ago? Could the monsters they mentioned be referring to Little Huilong? This is bad. He had been so absorbed in devouring things that he had forgotten about the secret realm, which had strict monitoring of monsters. Ling Xi then tried to maintain a calm demeanor and said, This situation seems serious, but I don't see how it concerns me. Hearing this, Su Lingyu sneered and replied, Is that so? Well, the next events might just involve you. Do you know about the Security Measures Bureau responsible for managing the security of the secret realms? If my guess is correct, the Bureau's Special Operations Team should already be there, conducting a sweeping investigation of Sector 86. Upon hearing about the Special Operations Team, Ling Xi was immediately alarmed. That team was specifically tasked with eliminating monsters. Oh, this is getting really troublesome. After hearing his reaction, Su Lingyu confirmed her speculation and said, If you can safely get out of there with your companions, contact me when you're out. Remember, I still haven't settled the score with you through the badge. Originally, Ling Xi had planned to find out from Su Lingyu how there could be a picture of his father there. However, the immediate priority was to escape from the secret realm. Ling Xi activated his compass and found that the supernatural lights of the Special Operations Team were approaching their location. Meanwhile, Kulong, who had a big appetite, thought it was about food again and complained. So Ling Xi gave him a big scolding and told him to help figure out how to evade the pursuit. Just then, 3 small dogs rushed towards Ling Xi, as if they wanted him to follow them. What surprised Ling Xi was that Kulong could actually understand their language. It turned out that the small dogs were saying that there was a tunnel ahead that they could use to hide from the search. Considering that the radar hadn't detected the 3 small dogs earlier, Ling Xi decided to follow them to the tunnel. Soon, guided by the 3 small dogs, they found the tunnel, which was enormous and emitting a significant amount of Baichi gas, indicating potential danger inside. Kulong suggested that he would go down first, and told Ling Xi to wait there without moving. With that, he leaped into the tunnel and slid down along the winding path. At this point, Ling Xi quickly had the system check their Baichi values, and it indeed showed that Huilong's Baichi value had decreased here, but it wasn't low enough to completely conceal him. So Ling Xi also jumped into the tunnel. Upon regaining consciousness, he hastily caught him and angrily questioned him, demanding to know why he had descended here. Lin Xiao smiled and replied that they could still detect spiritual energy here and needed to continue downward. Before long, they arrived at a wider area, which was large and deep enough to conceal spiritual energy. It seemed they had traveled quite a distance. However, Kui Long pointed out that Lin Xiao shouldn't be too quick to rejoice. There were clear signs of excavation here. Moreover, the width of this tunnel was much larger than what normal animals would dig, suggesting the presence of a giant monster. After hearing Kui Long's explanation, Lin Xiao couldn't help but feel weak. This was a first-grade secret realm. If there was such a monster, it would have been discovered long ago. Kui Long looked at him as if he were a fool and reminded him why they had come here in the first place. Just then, little Kui Long detected a scent, something extraordinary up ahead. Without further ado, he charged forward. Soon, they found a large number of monster corpses inside the cave, some of them fresh. Kui Long's eyes gleamed as he stared at the corpses. However, just as Kui Long was about to approach, 11 giant monsters suddenly appeared, revealing themselves as the mutants they had encountered before the formal excavation. These creatures in the cave were 8 meters long and weighed 5.4 tons, ancient fierce beasts known as peak lizards. As they gazed in astonishment at these colossal creatures in front of them, several more monsters suddenly dropped from the cave ceiling. These were the mutant pack that had initially surrounded Lin Xiao and the others. One of these creatures mistook Lin Xiao for its master and prepared to attack him aggressively. However, just as it was about to make a move, Kui Long roared angrily, intimidating them. Now is not the time for us to fight amongst ourselves, he warned. But before Lin Xiao could finish speaking, a gaping, bloodthirsty mouth appeared behind the group of mutant dogs, swallowing them all in one gulp. Watching these mutant dogs being devoured like a meal, Lin Xiao, who had initially thought about recruiting them, was left speechless. It seemed he would have to handle this situation on his own. In the next moment, Feng Shi's gaze shifted to Lin Xiao and his group. Then, she charged towards them. This was a super 5-ton class monster, truly terrifying. Little Kui Long took a step forward to block Feng Shi head on, but it was evident that Kui Long was not her match at the moment, as he was forced to step back step by step. In terms of size, little Kui Long and Feng Shi were not in the same league. His body trembled continuously, clearly struggling to defend himself. At this moment, little Kui Long suddenly started barking like a dog at Lin Xiao. At first, Lin Xiao didn't understand what this meant, but when he saw little Kui Long's playful expression, he realized that little Kui Long was communicating with little Pian, the little dog by his side. The next moment, little Pian grabbed Lin Xiao and dragged him backward. It turned out that Kui Long wanted little Pian to take Lin Xiao to safety. Seeing the abnormality on Lin Xiao's side, Feng Shi immediately sent Kui Long flying with a powerful strike, sending him sprawling. Ignoring the cave behind him, Lin Xiao had just entered when Feng Shi also charged in. Fortunately, the entrance to the cave was too small, and it managed to block her. But before Lin Xiao and his group could catch their breath, Feng Shi suddenly exerted force and began relentlessly ramming the excavation. Seeing this, little Kui Long hurriedly ran towards the east. Donkey Brother bit onto him, but this guy's skin was tough, and not only could he not bite through it, but he was also dragged back several meters by little Kui Long. At this moment, little Kui Long suddenly exerted tremendous force and flung Donkey Brother backward. Since his skin was too thick to bite through, this was the only way. However, no matter how little Kui Long attacked, the gap maintained a playful expression. The next moment, its gaze changed instantly, and it rammed into little Kui Long, creating a deep pit in the wall behind them. At this point, Lin Xiao noticed that the area that had just been attacked by little Kui Long had quickly healed. Kui Long's intense attacks couldn't even break the creature's defenses. This was the first time such a situation had occurred. Although it was lower in rank than the gap, it shouldn't be this difficult. This situation was something he often encountered in games. Monsters would have enhanced defenses, and you could only inflict damage by targeting weak points. Judging by the gap size, the large belly underneath its body must be its weak point. Just as Lin Xiao was thinking about how to convey this message to Longshire, the system suddenly prompted him after midnight whether to perform a check-in. Through check-ins, he could obtain evolution items, and even skills. Lin Xiao didn't hesitate and chose to check in. The first check-in logic. The host gains the special attribute, Rampage Star Day. This attribute emitted a destructive light within the body and was the strongest dialogue. Receiving the monster's ultimate skill, Lin Xiao smirked at Feng Shi. Get ready to turn into a delicious roast pig. Become my evolution, little gap. At this moment, facing Feng Shi's attack seemed somewhat challenging. Their sizes were completely mismatched. Little Kuei Long was like a toy in front of Feng Shi, and no matter how she attacked, she couldn't harm her. Just when Lin Xiao was getting extremely anxious, the system suddenly rewarded the exclusive skill, Explosion, for Kuei Long. This made Lin Xiao feel awakened again, ready to turn Feng Shi into a delicious roast pig. However, just at this moment, the system poured cold water on him. As an ultimate skill, Explosion indeed had incredible power but required a considerable amount of time to charge. However, the current Little Kuei Long had no energy accumulation at all. To restrain Feng Shi, he would need to possess at least half of Little Kuei Long's power, and the three small ones in front of him clearly couldn't accomplish that. Just then, Lin Xiao's spiritual light flashed, indicating that he possessed 30% of Little Kuei Long's power. Perhaps it was worth a try. Once he confirmed that his projection ability had been reset, Lin Shi planned to use projection to obtain 30% of Little Huilong's power, and then go up to attract Feng Shi's attention. Little Huilong would use this opportunity to accumulate energy, and launch a lethal attack on Feng Shi's weak point. After going through the battle plan in his mind, Lin Shi immediately conveyed the plan to the three small creatures. Watching their cute and puzzled expressions, Lin Shi wasn't sure to what extent they understood, so he went on to explain the battle route in detail once again. This time, the three small creatures quickly grasped the plan, and it seemed like a reliable strategy. Just as they were preparing, a roar came from behind. Little Huilong suddenly displayed his strength by biting Feng Shi's nose. Although Feng Shi had impressive defenses, having its nostrils blocked made its face turn red from suffocation. It violently shook its head, throwing Little Huilong away, and he crashed into the wall heavily. Seeing this, Lin Shi quickly commanded the three small creatures to execute the Huilong rescue plan. Upon hearing the command, they rushed out. They divided into three groups, approaching Feng Shi from different angles. While one group attracted Feng Shi's attention, two others quickly bit its ear, diverting its focus. At the same time, the third small creature swiftly approached Little Huilong and conveyed the battle plan. Meanwhile, the other two creatures were barking loudly near Feng Shi's ears, causing it annoyance. Feng Shi began shaking its head frantically in an attempt to get rid of the creatures on its ears. However, this action inadvertently affected Little Huilong, who was beneath Feng Shi. As the plan progressed smoothly, Lin Shi prepared to throw a stone at Feng Shi to distract it. However, Feng Shi suddenly noticed him and released Little Huilong. The giant stone meant for Feng Shi ended up hitting Little Huilong on the head, causing a large lump to swell up. It was an accident, and Little Huilong didn't do it intentionally. Seeing this, Feng Shi approached Lin Shi with a mocking smile. At this moment, Lin Shi was feeling extremely anxious, reassuring himself that he still had the support of his projection ability. Since he had chosen to explore the secrets, he would inevitably face frequent battles with monsters. He admonished himself to stay calm if he wanted to survive. However, when faced with the approaching Feng Shi, a massive and ruthless creature, Lin Shi's mind went blank, and he sat down on the ground. Just as Feng Shi was about to reach Lin Shi, a bright light suddenly emanated from under his feet. It seemed that Little Huilong had completed his energy accumulation, and his position was perfectly aligned for his burst breath attack. Hearing this, Feng Shi looked toward Little Huilong's position, only to find that he had already disappeared. At that moment, Feng Shi thought Lin Shi was playing tricks on him and was about to approach and devour him. However, suddenly, a powerful burst of light erupted from below Feng Shi's belly. As the light grew stronger, Little Chubby Dragon's burst breath struck him heavily, creating a deep pit in his body. Feng Shi was severely injured and fell into the pit, unable to move. It met its end. Observing the devastating power of burst breath, Lin Shi couldn't help but feel relieved. He quickly praised Little Huilong, explaining that his earlier actions were meant to make Feng Shi lower its guard so that he could launch a surprise attack. Thanks to their battle plan, they had successfully subdued Feng Shi. Little Huilong, wearing a disdainful expression, got up and said, "You make it sound so noble, but a moment ago, you were paralyzed with fear when you saw Feng Shi approaching. You even hesitated to attack and were lying on the ground, petrified." Lin Shi, feeling embarrassed, was about to respond, but the system's notification interrupted him. He wondered why it was alerting him now, especially when the countermeasures bureau might be nearby. The leader thought this was just an inconspicuous small bag, but when he opened it, he discovered a hidden compartment inside. What first caught his eye was a passage leading to the monster's space. Then, there was a space of approximately 30 cubic meters for storing monsters and some personal items. Moreover, from the outside, you couldn't see the contents inside. With this bag, he no longer had to worry about the countermeasures bureau discovering Little Huilong. So, he placed Little Huilong and the others into the bag, then approached the pit where Feng Shi had fallen. Unexpectedly, there was a large crystal on Feng Shi's belly. Typically, monster crystals grew on their heads, but when Lin Shi climbed up to inspect it, he noticed that the edges of this crystal seemed to have been artificially polished, with signs of artificial stitching around it. The system explained that Feng Shi, due to its unique lifestyle, had evolved a special ability. When they dug holes, they secreted a special saliva that could mask their aura. In ancient times, some people specialized in raising bee lizards and used them as containers to collect aura for enhancing their supernatural abilities. At this moment, Xiao Kuei Long poked its head out. The foolish monkey behaved like it was the master of the world, trampling on other lives recklessly. Lin Xiao quickly pushed it back inside, saying, "You can't come out without my permission." Just then, the system suddenly detected several high-density spiritual energy reactions approaching. Lin Xiao knew it must be people from the opposing faction. However, he hesitated when he saw the enormous crystal river, so he turned back, intending to extract the crystal. With a screech of brakes, the members of the opposing faction quickly arrived in Feng Shi town. Lin Xiao hid in the nearby woods and observed the situation carefully. It was quite precarious. The situation had been extremely dangerous just a moment ago. However, for the sake of the crystal nucleus, which the system indicated would allow him to level up 3 times, Lin Xiao decided to give it to Su Lingyu. Without the badge, Lin Xiao couldn't enter the realm, and he didn't want to have any relationship with this woman. Just then, a sudden situation arose on the opposing faction side. The gap that had previously shown no signs of life suddenly came to life. The system explained that most of the energy from the explosive breath had been absorbed by the crystal nucleus, allowing Wind Breath to survive. Wind Breath began to attack furiously, but the opposing faction's team leader remained calm. He removed his shirt slowly, and monsters and awakened beings were all about spiritual energy. It was a matter of who was stronger. The team members advised the captain to stay calm when they saw this, as it was a 5-ton level monster. However, the captain walked straight up to Wind Breath. He quickly raised his left hand, grabbing Wind Breath's lower jaw, preventing him from opening his mouth. With his right hand, he started charging up for a strike and delivered a powerful chop to Wind Breath, instantly killing him. The captain's strike decapitated him, and he casually tossed Wind Breath's head into the gap, saying, "I'm respecting your way of ending disputes according to your rules. I might as well have been shot by that guy over there." He added. After giving these orders, he commanded his team members to retreat, taking Feng Shi's body with them. Just the head of this big guy would probably feed them for a while. Seeing them leave, Lin Xiao finally let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they had mistaken Feng Shi for their target based on the alert. He then turned to the peak lizard's lair with Xiao Kuei Long. While Xiao Kuei Long was nibbling on a wolf on the side, Lin Xiao cleaned up the food from Feng Shi's home. Then, he opened the system panel and upgraded all of Xiao Kuei Long's stats. At this point, Xiao Kuei Long had reached a height of 11.8 meters and possessed the abilities of Devour and Violent Raid. After all the commotion, it was probably already dawn outside. Before leaving, Lin Xiao intentionally left a monument for Feng Shi. Although Feng Shi was an annoying old man, he had saved them in the secret realm. 3 times in the cave, he had helped them evade the pursuit of the opposing faction. The monster's core had given him the monster space, and in the end, it had used its life to attract the attention of the opposing faction. After doing all of this, Lin Xiao returned to the real world from the secret realm. Unfortunately, he didn't know if the badge still had those memories after being returned. He hoped that he would one day have a badge of his own. In order to return the badge to Su Lingyu as soon as possible, Lin Xiao sent him a text message immediately. He couldn't say he had seen him bathing while stealing the badge. Moreover, he seemed to have guessed that I had something to do with monsters, but I don't know to what extent he knows, and he would definitely ask me what I was doing in the secret realm. Now I can only hope that when he sees the crystal river, he will be delighted and won't ask anything. "Alright," he replied. Just then, a message from Su Lingyu came back, saying that they could meet at the gym today, so Lin Xiao hurriedly took Golden River to the gym. However, when he arrived, he found that the gym was empty and quiet, nothing like a place for reporting. So, Lin Xiao opened the door with mixed feelings. Inside, it was pitch black and eerily quiet. Just as Lin Xiao was about to leave, Su Lingyu sent another text message, saying she had something to attend to and to go inside directly. But as soon as Lin Xiao entered the gym, the door suddenly slammed shut with a bang. It was then that Lin Xiao realized that the pitch black gym was filled with high jump poles. Bewildered, he tried to retreat, but from upstairs, there was a rattling sound. Surprised? I carefully prepared all of these for you. Explain yourself, you pervert who peeks at others bathing and steals badges. Seeing this, Lin Xiu was about to explain, but Su Lingyu raised her hand and the badge broke through Lin Xiu's defenses, flying into her hand. Now, all the evidence is here. What do you have to deny? Don't even think about escaping like last night. It's best to confess and receive a lighter sentence. Lin Xiu knew he couldn't escape, so he could only brace himself. He began by bowing to Su Lingyu, admitting that he took the badge without permission. Then, he offered her a gold box, saying, I found this in the secret realm last night. I want to give it to you as a thank you. But before he could finish his words, a high jump pole flew at him, shattering the gold box. It seems like you're still unwilling to talk. To be honest, what I want to know is how you managed to sneak into the room. If you're not willing to tell the truth, next time it will be your head that gets smashed. Lin Xiu was relentless, and having his own monster system, he couldn't say something like a monster brought him in. That would be too far-fetched. Just at that moment, Xiao Kuei-long and Xiao Bianichuan inside the backpack were getting angry. Let us out and let us take care of it, they demanded. Lin Xiu muttered. You're too small for this. This is a school. Releasing you would cause chaos. Today, he had used Xiao Kuei-long's monster projection to deal with Fingxi, or he could have held his own right now. Seeing Su Lingyu preparing to take action, Lin Xiu quickly took out the projection device and aimed it at Su Lingyu. Taking advantage of her covering her eyes with her hand, Lin Xiu quickly fled towards the gym's exit. But at this moment, Su Lingyu used the power to control the high jump bar, which instantly blocked Lin Xiu's path on the ground. Lin Xiu looked back and saw Su Lingyu controlling the second floor railing, using it as a slide to charge at him. Lin Xiu quickly dodged her attack. Since you're not willing to tell me how you sneaked into my room, I'll change the question for your own good. Who was the partner you sneaked in with? Where are they now? Lin Xiu realized that Su Lingyu's anger was not solely because of the stolen badge. She had set this trap to force me to reveal Xiao Kuei-long. He used the monster projection on himself. The next moment, Su Lingyu's attack fell behind, and Lin Xiu had transformed into Xiao Bianichuan, instantly jumping over Su Lingyu's head. Su Lingyu was surprised. What on earth is this? While she was still shocked, Lin Xiu quickly jumped to the second floor. As she was about to climb out, Su Lingyu's attack rained down like a storm. Lin Xiu fell from the second floor in an attempt to escape. As Su Lingyu was about to approach and question him, she suddenly noticed Lin Xiu's backpack lying nearby. This guy was muttering to himself earlier. So could it be that there's something inside the bag? At this moment, Xiao Kuei-long inside the backpack was extremely angry, vigorously pounding the walls, indicating that they wanted to come out and deal with Su Lingyu. Then, they tried to communicate with Lin Xiu through the system. Lin Xiu slowly regained consciousness, saying, Mom, stop hitting me. I'm getting up. His memory was somewhat hazy, and he only remembered falling from the second floor. It seemed that projecting Xiao Bianichuan had not only reduced his power attributes, but also affected his intelligence. Just then, he noticed Su Lingyu was about to open his backpack, and Lin Xiu urgently shouted, That's my bag. Give it back to me quickly. This sudden move startled Su Lingyu. Based on his reaction, Su Lingyu was sure about her suspicions. Your partner is inside this bag, isn't it? There's no hiding it now. Lin Xiu, in a hurry, shouted. This is not a joke. Please return the bag to me. That guy inside is incredibly powerful. I have no way of controlling him, and if a fight breaks out here, the entire school could be destroyed. Hearing his words, Su Lingyu became even more curious. As the backpack was opened, a terrifying vortex of energy erupted. Su Lingyu was bewildered. What on earth is this? Are you sure they can destroy the school? Su Lingyu had only seen Xiao Bianichuan come out of the backpack. At this point, she reluctantly said, Just fight if you want, but be careful with the roof. Upon hearing this, Su Lingyu looked up and saw that the little Kuei-long, who was a foodie, was drooling and staring at him. Su Lingyu quickly reacted and jumped back, creating some distance between him and little Kuei-long. Lingxi, what have you sent to the school? Lingxi, with a helpless expression, explained. His name is Kuei-long, a penguin monster. He has just passed his juvenile stage. But when Su Lingyu heard this, she wasn't afraid. Instead, she seemed excited. You've really brought something extraordinary. Let's have a fight then. After all, the chance to compete with a penguin monster is rare. Su Lingyu jumped to the second floor and attracted all the high jump bars. In the next moment, a giant hand made of high jump bars appeared, resembling a female version of Gundam. Then calmly, Su Lingyu warned Kuei-long that he wasn't an enemy or food, and he forbade the use of devouring and explosive breath abilities. Kuei-long nodded, indicating that he would hold back his strength. Seeing that neither Su Lingyu nor the creature paid attention to him, Su Lingyu raised his fist and charged towards Kuei-long. Kuei-long first blocked with a shield, and then followed with a dragon tail strike, which sent Su Lingyu's iron fist flying. Later, Kuei-long calmly helped Lingxi by catching the falling steel bars. As Lingxi looked around for Su Lingyu, thinking he might be buried under the steel bars, Su Lingyu's voice came from the basketball hoop. Lingxi, get me down from here quickly, and I'll let you down. But before that, answer me a question, Su Lingyu. I want to know how my dad's photo ended up in your badge. What's your relationship with him? Hearing this question, the usually serious Su Lingyu blushed instantly.